Good evening, Laredo. Welcome to this week's Year in Review episode of the Texas Border Chronicles. I'm Jesus Trugatz, your host. This is a community affairs program with local community leaders to talk about issues affecting the border area. We thank you, Judge Shu, for being here.
Thank you for having me, sir.
I appreciate you making it. You've been here from the very beginning, so I want to thank you again for being a part of the team. Now, as you know, what we're going to do today is we're going to do something different than what we normally do. We normally have live interviews with people. But what we're going to do, Judge, we're going to have a compilation of the prior stories and talk about it on the other side. Our first topic that we talked about on the first episode we had was the USMCA. And then after that, we had the virtual immigration courts. Why don't we look at those tapes and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Of course, not only was it necessary, but it was important for the economic vitality of this region. Back then, you may recall, Judge, that we were living with high double-digit unemployment rates. We were a vibrant, border community, but we had our challenges and our issues. And the question was that we saw in the opportunities that an expanded trade agreement that really goes back not just to 1992, but even beyond that to the Reagan administration. We were talking about a free trade bloc of all of Western Hemisphere down to South America. And the first phase was going to be North America, then into Central America, and South America. All of that of open markets that allowed more economic vitality and trade activity between all the countries. So that's the way we saw it. We saw it as a long-term effect. And I think 25 years of NAFTA have delivered that for our region much success. Right. Jobs, at the end of the day, it's jobs. And you can see it today where we have single-digit unemployment rate. And I think all his hard work for many folks from the border, including here in Laredo, has paid off.
We already know, all of us, that the international trade plays a major role to the economic base of our community. Okay, even though I'm going to quote you some figures here, we already have surpassed those figures. Right now, to be honest about it, Laredo is number 2 in total goods that cross both as in and out of this particular port. It exceeds $300 billion worth of goods through Laredo, and it exceeds over 2 million 18-wheelers that actually cross also. The number is just impressive and hard to even acknowledge it. Laredo, by itself, has 41 million square feet of warehousing. We have more warehousing than San Antonio and Corpus Christi combined right now. This is the impact that it has. So obviously, international trade is a major economic influence to our community.
But actually, in the 25 years, it grew 600%. So that's a lot.
That's the business.
That's the business in those 25 years. You have $560 billion in trade in 2017. You have $100 billion just in trade between Mexico and Texas in 1 year. So the economy is pretty good when it comes to trade. But the key factors in the negotiation was competitiveness, was modernize the agreement.
Yes.
Trade facilitation, and security and investment. And then when you can talk about security and investment, this was the sunset rule, which was very important, and shutting down the agreement every 5 years and start all over was not a good factor or a good process for the investors. They want it long term so they can invest. And one of the competitiveness is the import of cars, the auto parts, and that's where they said, well, we're going to add a little bit more raw materials and labor to the auto parts up to 75%, and that's where it makes it more competitive among the region. And when we talk about region, it means the 3 countries.
And also, it means that it's when it comes to investment, it's better.
Oh, absolutely. And this one, in this particular, in the auto sector, this is for the investors a very good clause when it comes to Section 232 on the effect of imports on national security.
Well, Judge, what do you think? As you can see, we talked about it since September, and everyone seems to have signed off on this agreement. We're now at the latter part of the year. What gives now?
Well, I mean, that inspector, U.S. inspectors coming in and reviewing what another sovereign country does has always been a sticking point. That's why Mexico says, no way we can agree to this part.
Well, apparently it was going to take off. Speaker Pelosi talked about it about a week or two ago. They were getting ready to vote on it in favor of it. And then I guess Speaker Pelosi put in this particular issue that some people had to put some labor inspectors in Mexico to keep an eye on the labor disputes in Mexico to make sure that they're paying the wages that they claim they're going to pay.
Well, that was always part of the USMCA. It was just that it wasn't enforced. So Speaker Pelosi says, hey, look, we need to have some beef to it to make it meaningful. So when she mentioned that, Mexico said, no, 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 no.
Yeah. So we're going to see what happens there. That's certainly to our benefit to make sure it gets done. Hopefully it could be done any of these days that are coming up. The other issue was that the immigration courts, as you know, back in September, the Trump administration spent at least $35 to $50 million just to build a tent city in downtown to handle more than 12,000 people who were asking for asylum, of which, based on the records, is showing that less than 1% of the people who are requesting asylum are getting it. Was it worth the money?
Yes, I mean, the asylum process has always been highly difficult. There was a lot of vetting involved, just so that make sure that the person that are actually seeking asylum qualifies for asylum. So that's the reason why it's been such a low number.
It just seems that if you support the Trump administration, that certainly it was well worth it. It did stop a lot of immigrants from crossing.
Well, it's not necessarily supporting the Trump administration or not. It's just enforcing the immigration laws that we have in effect.
Yes.
And for them to meet the threshold burden of asylum, they have to meet it before they can qualify.
And not only that, they also have to stay in their countries where they were coming from as well.
Yes, sir.
So we'll be right back after this short break.
I'm Sergio Lozano, and your problem is my problem.
Welcome back, Laredo. Thank you, Judge, for being here again. As you know, Judge, one of the biggest issues we had here in Laredo was the issue of the local water boil notice that we had. It obviously it permeated, in fact, included the whole city in a panic to some degree.
Right.
We actually have a video of that particular show. Let's go ahead and watch it. Welcome back to the show. We do have Councilman Roberto Valle, who's here. He's actually the mayor pro tem for the city. Is that correct?
That's right.
So really, when the mayor's not available, you're the person next in line to basically handle a lot of the city issues.
Yes, that's true.
Which, by the way, you did. I saw you on Facebook on Sunday, obviously dealing with this issue, and I congratulate you for that. Certainly, but I think that there was a lot of on Saturday night and even Sunday morning. There seemed to have been a sense of panic or a sense of anxiety that occurred in this community. Do you think that this could have been handled differently?
I think it could have been handled better. In these situations, what we can do, what we should have done, is we can go into emergency mode, and when you do that, then you have one person who becomes the voice of the city and who sort of leads and helps with the decision making, and that should have been our fire chief, and that's the way that it should have been handled because of the training. It wasn't handled that way. Eventually, fire chief was brought in, but initially it wasn't handled that way, and I think that would have been good because, at the time, there were a lot of different messages being delivered. They were for the most part accurate, but the issue is because they were being delivered by different mediums. They were being delivered at different times. One person would see something, that was, let's say online that was posted at 4 p.m. which was different from something that was posted in the morning, but they were still going by what they saw in the morning, and so there wasn't that coordination.
And I understand that. However, you also have to consider a lot of them are senior citizens and people who have medical issues and young people, and not everyone has access to the media. So, like you said, they were getting different messages at different times and getting confusing responses as well.
Sure.
In this segment, we talked about two major issues that happened back in November, Judge, and we actually had two episodes. One dealing with the violence in Laredo, spillover violence. The other issue dealing, of course, with the border wall. Let's take a look at those videos and we'll talk about it on the other side.
What she said, and I think this is what everyone is feeling, is that there's a great uncertainty about all of this that's affecting all of us. We don't know what exactly it's going to look like, where it will be, what it will feel like, what it's going to be like to look at Mexico through bars. It's just going to change our perspectives in so many ways, culturally, for sure. Anyway, I thought her comment was really good about how uncertain this is. The word in Spanish, I think, is incertidumbre, the unknown, what we really don't know. And so, yeah, there's this feeling that it's coming, but we don't know what it is or how big it is or what it will do to us. Now, I used her as an example because she's a phenomenal human being. She's an immigrant who is a great humanitarian and has changed children's lives by kindness. She's obviously the opposite of the people that Donald Trump, the type of people that Donald Trump warned us would come to this country and do terrible things. She kind of cancels that perception. Such a good human being. She spoke of immigrants that come through the Sacred Heart Children's Home. They've just crossed the river. And she said that all they want to do is they want to walk through there. They want to get to where they're going. They want to find the place where they're going to sleep and eat and be safe. And she said it with such humanity. And to me, what she was saying is just the antithesis of what this wall represents. This wall represents so much hatred and malevolence. It's just a terrible, ugly thing that's going to be flawless if it comes to fruition.
But that's going to change, would it, Judge, the dynamics of how, like she said, it's going to change the dynamics of how we look at the border now?
It sure does. I mean, Laredo is a beautiful place. The Rio Grande River is a beautiful place. I pretty much take my children and a group of campers, and we go throughout Texas, South Texas, and we visit different rivers, Guadalupe River, Comel.
Judge, the courts are still wrestling with the issue of the emergency declaration. Apparently, the Trump administration has been denied 3 times in federal district courts, and they're still going through the process. Is this one of those cases that you believe will end up going into the Supreme Court?
Yes, so the Supreme Court will take up this issue, Judge. They have to, because otherwise the cases will just keep getting stalled, go from the trial court to the appellate court, and finally the Supreme Court has no choice but to take up this issue.
I'm sure that's going to be brought up sometime in the next 6 to 8 months because they're all heading, or they're already out in the appellate courts,
yes,
pretty much. On the other issue dealing with law enforcement and the spillover violence from Mexico, we did have our chief Trevino here. The Laredo Police Department has the capacity to handle situations like that still.
Yes, we do. We have. We were fortunate to get a grant to have those ballistic plates equipped. We have vehicles. Our SWAT team continues to be equipped. We go after grants to get military-style vehicles to be prepared. God forbid we need to put them to use one day. We are prepared to go and stop that threat.
But at the very end, it comes down to the relationship that you have with the community.
Absolutely. The public is our eyes out there. We do have a police force to serve the community, but without the public, that additional set of eyes, those many sets of eyes that are around the city are very important. So we continue to have that line of communication open through social media, directly to 911 if it's an emergency, non-emergency lines if they want to talk about any potential issues. And we do take all those calls serious. We follow them through, and if there's anything that needs to be presented to the DA's office for consultation, we do that, and we have that continuous communication with them.
What are your thoughts about that?
Judge, I think our city is very safe. For the year ending, we have 8 homicide. So I think, and we heard from Chief Claudio Trevino, and I think that none of that is involved with the spillover violence from Mexico. These are
And that's very important. It's a very important point that the public needs to be aware of. That normally we have about 13 people, unfortunately, who die on a yearly basis due to obviously murders, but we only had 8.
Yes.
And so certainly that tells you, at least that's part of the evidence to show that there has been very limited spillover violence from Mexico. But as was brought up about the issue of the mass shootings, that's always a possibility.
That's always a possibility. It's sad that it's a present possibility throughout the whole nation.
Right.
It's something that we have to be aware of and keep a watchful eye on.
We'll take a short break at this time, and we'll be right back.
I'm Sergio Lozano, and your problem is my problem.
Welcome back to the show. Judge, as you know, we had Congressman Henry Cuellar talk to us about what he's done in the last couple of years as it relates to the border activity. Let's go ahead and watch that video, and then let's talk about it on the other side. Well, one of the biggest issues, of course, is the impeachment inquiry.
Right, right.
What is going on, or what is the status?
You know, the first thing, if you look at the impeachment, first you got to get information. You know, there are some people that have contacted me and said, impeach him right now. And then there are some people on the other side that said, oh, no, don't impeach him. But the way I look at it is, you know, just as a judge, what you do is you look at the evidence, right, and then you make a decision. Right. But you have to present the evidence. So right now, what's being presented, as you saw some very powerful witnesses that were there that went ahead and testified. So we're in the evidence document collection process right now. If they decide to move on, the committee, then they go from the Intelligence Committee to the Judiciary, where there at that time they would have to draft articles of impeachment. And then if they move forward and then they pass it from the Judiciary, then there's a vote on the House floor where everybody gets a vote.
That's right.
And then it's sent over to the Senate where they have the trial. So the whole process right now is the House will take some action, and then the Senate. Now, there's been 2 other impeachment procedures in the past, 2 other presidents. And what we've seen in the past is 2 presidents have been impeached. And then when it comes over to get 67 senators out of 100, it's very, very hard. And so there's been conviction.
So basically what you're saying is even if the House does impeach, the Senate then has to have a trial. And there's that's another process.
Yeah.
And it might not pass.
Yeah, I guess the best way to present this, the House does impeachment, which is basically, hey, we're going to convict you. Then you go before the Senate, right, and there's a trial.
Right.
And they'll go through the same thing on that. And then it's a trial, then they vote on it with the Supreme Court justice presiding. Right. Then they vote on it. But I'm just saying that historically, to get 67 out of 100 senators, the last 2 times it's been tried, it hasn't passed.
Right. Well, as you know, Judge, he talked to us about the impeachment process. And he just voted, in fact, for impeachment of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Is that going to be a defining vote for him?
Congressman Cuellar has been doing an excellent job. He served 8 terms in Congress because he's able to work across the board with the other party. So yes, but on this one, I think he has a correct vote that he voted for impeachment.
Then one of the issues that he also talked about was the issue of bipartisanship, how he is proud to the fact that he can reach out to the Republican side and try to get some bills passed. Is this vote going to affect that type of bipartisanship that we're talking about?
No, I don't think so. This is just an impeachment vote, and that has both parties drawing their lines clearly. But any other issue that they will continue to work together.
And finally, Judge, as you know, the U.S. Congress just approved a $1.38 billion for the border wall for the next year. Is there anything else that Congress can do to stop this wall from being built?
Well, 1.3 billion is hardly going to make an impact, and to have the wall built all across the border.
But if you're talking about Laredo, because most of the people are just talking about Laredo and Webb County.
Right.
And if you look at the headlines in some of the local papers, it's coming.
I don't think that's going to be sufficient. It was just a little give, just to give them that amount to start the wall, but it's not enough to complete or do anything significant.
But I do want to point out, in this budget, they allowed the president to be able to move monies around if he needs more money. That's something that's underreported. That's going to come back. It's going to be an issue that might come back at a later time.
That's already the basis of the lawsuits in the appellate court?
Yes. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, sir.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Serious car collisions require personal attention, an attorney who's experienced and can finish the case without referring it out. If you are involved in a serious car collision, call Joey Theas, because serious car collisions require a serious and effective attorney.
Hey, mom's coming to San Antonio and we really need to find her a home care provider.
Relax, I already got her Champion Care.
Champion Care? Here in San Antonio?
They're in San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Laredo, Zapata, and the Rio Grande Valley. In fact, they have offices all over South Texas.
Well, that's great, big brother, because they really know her history and her needs.
Exactly.
So where's mom right now?
She's taking off to San Antonio as we speak.
Right now?
Right now.
Serious car collisions require personal attention, an attorney who's experienced and can finish the case without referring it out. If you are involved in a serious car collision, call Joey Theas, because serious car collisions require a serious and effective attorney.
Thank you for coming back. We had several other issues that we talked about in the different episodes that I want to make sure that I cover with you. One was the issue of depression, mental illness in our community. And we talked to our LPC, Mital Alejo, who talked to us about how it is a chronic problem in our community, but something that has to be dealt with.
Yes, sir. I agree with that one. Depression needs to be dealt with. It needs to be spoken about, just like domestic violence. And we need to express to each other that, hey, look, you know what? It's okay to be sad. Let's talk about it. Let's not put it in the closet and wait until something bad happens.
It's a topic that certainly that County Attorney Mark Montemar also mentioned. We certainly need to deal with it and be honest about it and be upfront. It can't be a stigma. We just need to keep talking about it. The other issue that we talked about was the issue of emergency food and clothing for those who are less fortunate, and that was talked to us by Manny Sanchez, who works for the Pillars organization. It's a very good organization. I strongly urge that anybody who has issues, dealings like that or counseling issues, to please contact Pillars, because they're one of the few that we have in Laredo that I've seen the difference in people who attend.
They do a very good job. We spend a lot of...
I believe you all use him at municipal court.
Yes, we do. We have, Pillar comes to our court
Right.
every Thursday, and we send a lot of folks to Pillar to get counseling.
Yes, definitely. And one of your other groups that you work real closely is the Golden Heart Project that we talked about it, I believe, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It has to do with childhood cancer. Do you remember?
Yes, Janie from the Golden Heart Project is a great person. She reached out to me for some help, so I advised her on their nonprofit.
Good.
And what they do is they raise money to help parents and family go with these children to their cancer treatment.
Yes, it's a very worthwhile organization. I really recommend it. And of course, we also had Amanda Arambula, who was here from the animal shelter from Laredo here, talking to us about her four-legged friends or all the pets. Laredo has a lot of pet lovers, I'm telling you. And we need to respect our pets, and we need to make sure we need to bring them in the cold weather. Unfortunately, some people still haven't gotten the message.
Yes.
So I take it at municipal court, you are dealing with issues with animals on the loose and things like that?
Yes, sir. We do with citations for dog at large.
Right, right. So, well, just to remind everyone, please make sure you keep your pets indoors when it is cold weather, and of course, always provide them with food and water, and of course, warm blankets and things like that to keep them warm. when necessary. And of course, we had one final video that I wanted to show you from Javier Garcia from the Bethany House. Let me show it to you and I'll talk to you on the other side.
During the season, we're in the season of giving, like they say. And I would ask and I challenge our community to go out there and help others. And this is a season of giving and helping. And we're here. We're here in the downtown. We're a center for hope. We're a center of hope. And that's something that we provide every day to individuals and families. So I would ask our community to, if you see a homeless individual, if you see a family, to take a minute of your time to say hello, to talk to them, to provide them a pair of socks, anything that would help them in their life. Any small token, it goes a long way. And I, for one, have made that observation day in and day out here at Bethany House.
It's such a good organization, Bethany House. They've helped literally tens of thousands of people, homeless people, plus people who need transitional housing. And my hat goes off to them. There's just one of those few organizations that do it for the heart, for the humanity. So I give them a lot of kudos for that.
Yes, I agree. I challenge anybody to go there at lunch and help serve food to the folks that go to the Bethany
Definitely.
House.
Since 1983. Judge, in closing, do you have any New Year's Eve wishes or any thoughts that you'd like to mention to us?
Yes, thank you. Primarily, I want to wish Texas Border Chronicles a happy new year. Thank you so much. And I wish that in the coming year that Texas Border Chronicles will have a bigger viewer base and more good stories to follow. Also, I wish each and every one of you health and happiness and well-being for your family.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate it. Well, there you have it, Laredo. We say goodbye to 2019 with a sports analogy of winning and losing. We hold on to our wins as memorable ones, and we hold on to our losses as lessons to be learned. And at the end, we actually just finished a past decade from 2010 to 2019. And so as we start the year 2020, we're actually starting a brand new decade. So now as we start anew with a new year, a new decade, new hope that our days will be better and brighter, and that in fact that we learn from our own mistakes. So on behalf of the TBC team, I want to thank you, Laredo, for watching, and Happy New Year. We want to wish you the very best in life. God bless.
Cheers.
Cheers. With coffee.